How soon do you think the BOE could move?
I think they could potentially move this month, but I think they probably might want to wait till later in the summer where they make a full assessment over the month of August. I think at this stage, the outlook has certainly deteriorated, but it's still early to tell how bad the outlook is going to be. So I think the Bank of England might want to perhaps be a bit patient. I think the recovery in markets as well is probably giving them some time to hold off and make a full assessment.
How far do you think they could go? Because when I was in London, there were some calls that we could see the base rate at zero by the end of the year. The gilt market is very interesting at the moment because the price action seems to be suggesting that more QE is on the cards as well.
I think that's certainly on the table. A rate cut is certainly a given. And then following that, I think another round of QE. What's interesting is that the interest rate market isn't really fully pricing in a full rate cut at this stage, which to me tells me that there's further downside potential for sterling if they were to, fully deliver, interest rate cuts back down to zero.
And that puts cable at around 120, 125 by the end of the year.
Yes, we've downgraded our forecast for cable. We think that it can eventually move to a new trading range of about 120 to 125 in the coming months.
Let's talk about the Bank of Japan, July the 29th. Is there a material risk that we could see helicopter money, outright debt monetization, cash handouts to the Japanese public?
I think the odds of a stimulus in July has certainly increased as a result of Brexit and given the strength that we've seen in the yen. Quite what shape that takes, I think, is quite open. We've seen that further negative interest rates didn't quite help. So I think the Bank of Japan really has to open up their armory and do a whole lot more rather than just taking interest rates to negative. So, I think a further expansion of the asset purchase program, maybe a change in what kind of assets they choose to purchase is definitely done.
As well.
That's right, yeah.
And they have to be aggressive, so that wouldn't necessarily mean doubling up.
They certainly have to do a lot more than what markets have priced in if they really want to get the yen to start to weaken. Okay,
and again, speaking of the yen, is there a material risk of yen intervention if we see dollar yen fall in a disorderly move below 100?
I think it's quite interesting that currency markets, despite having had huge adjustments since last Friday, the moves have actually been fairly orderly in that sense. So that doesn't meet the threshold for intervention in the G7's eyes. So in this respect, I think it's going to be very difficult still for the Bank of Japan to argue that they can intervene, given that the markets seem to be functioning quite well.